Hello everyone. All right, so today is going to be a little bit of a different video. Obviously, I'm not out on an adventure, but we are gearing up for an adventure. And I've had a lot of people over the last few years ask a lot of questions about gear, and I've changed most of it since I did my first video on my pack when I first went on my first canoe trip. So lots has changed. I've definitely got myself down to some more packable gear, lighter gear, and learned some stuff along the way. So I'm just gonna dive in to my pack today and show you what we're working with. All right, so anybody that's been on some canoe adventures, one of the main things with your pack is to try to keep it organized. At the moment, I just slapped in a bunch of gear, which is kind of what it ends up like on by day 2, day 3. The essentials at the bottom are there. Everything else is thrown in. So I'm gonna pull out a bunch of stuff here and we will begin to talk about it. All right, well, as you can see, this is a lot of gear and it's a lot to work with. I'd love to condense more and more, and I'm gonna try to do a trip where I just bring like one pack and do for 3 or 4 days. But there's a lot of things that you need depending on weather and what time of year you are that is gonna help you get through. And it's hard to be out there and not have these things that I have in front of me. Each thing has a purpose, of course, and honestly, as I'm sitting here looking at it, it looks like I need to get rid of some of this stuff. But let's go through what we have here today with us. And we'll start off with some obvious things that I want to get out of the rain that is starting to happen, of course, because I'm trying to film a video outside. So, camera gear. You're watching on one of my cameras. I also have a secondary camera that is usually matched with my long lens in hopes of finding a moose, bear, some sort of wildlife. So that is usually on there just in case one of these moments happen. I've had a couple encounters. I've been very fortunate. And my first ever trip, I got some great shots of a moose and its calf. So that was crucial to have this lens to capture that. That's kind of what I'm out there to do, is capture everything. And I've really gotten into photography over that time period. I don't post a lot of it, but a little bit of it I share with you guys. And it's had a good response, so thank you. Another 2 things, or 2 cameras I always have is GoPros. This one I always have on me. It gets angles that you wouldn't get any other time without this camera. It's always good to have a camera on you just to capture some things in the moment, on the portage, while you're catching a fish. You know, it's always good to have a camera at your fingertips to press record, to catch these moments. And then this GoPro I have for when it rains, like it is at the moment, just so I can record things, because with the bigger camera, obviously I don't want it out in the weather. It would obviously kind of ruin it for me. And yeah, having this GoPro works for those rainy days. And the last 2 trips were very, very wet, rained most of them. And without these GoPros, I wouldn't have been able to record most of the trip. Another thing when it comes to camera gear is lots of batteries. I keep them in a waterproof case. There are lots of GoPro batteries, lots of batteries for my Canon. I usually have another case I keep in the bottom of my barrel with backups. And I'll keep this in my day bag so I can switch them out at any time, and then I'll replenish this case at the end of the day with some fresh batteries. And then to hold it all, keep it all safe, is this camera case. Always protecting it from the rain. This thing has been through it all and protected those cameras, so very valuable if you're someone who films or is just out there taking pictures, trying to capture the moment. It's always good to have a nice protective case like this. Got this at Canadian Tire for like $100, and it holds 2 cameras in it, so it's perfect for what I'm doing. All right, enough of the camera stuff. Let's talk about the actual camping gear. This pack is pretty crucial. It is my sleeping pack. I try to keep everything in its own separate dry bag in the bag. In case anything is wet, this protects it, the extra layer. And also just keeping everything organized. When I look in my bag and I want to grab something, I know from the dry bag that it's in what's in it. So I just find that easier for organization and keeping everything obviously dry. I got a Nemo sleeping pad. My old sleeping pad was about this long and almost twice as thick. Took up a huge section of my pack, probably bigger than my tent, and breaking that down to a smaller size, but it's actually a thicker pad. The other one was only 1 inch thick, rolled out, just self-inflated. This one actually blows up, much more comfortable. I also have a Nemo sleeping pillow. This I may upgrade again. It is very small, perfect for a pack day bag, but I don't find it very comfortable. I sleep on my side and this pillow just doesn't seem to be enough for my neck. So if you know of a pillow that is good for you, please let me know. But that is what we're working with at the moment. And then I've had this since day one. It is a Woods sleeping bag. It's fairly compact. There's obviously smaller packs, of course. It's a 5-degree bag. So it is for my spring, summer, and fall trips. If it gets colder out, I usually just wear more clothes. I'll wear long johns, underlayers to sleep, sometimes full gear. But I do that just because I'd rather have a smaller pack than carry around my winter pack that is way too big. I feel like I'm rambling here, but I hope this is useful information for everyone. Tents. So I don't bring 2 tents with me. I kind of bring it depending on the trip. This one is a night cat tent. Used it a couple times last year. I really like it. It is, well, it can be on the ground. It can be used that way, but its main thing, it is a hammock tent. So it's fully covered, got a fly, all of the good stuff to keep you away from the bugs and the rain. But if you can't find 2 trees to hook it up to, you can set it up on the ground, stay dry for the night, and have a nice place to sleep. So I like the fact that it just has options. It's good to have options. But the main tent I'm rocking, which you've seen in my videos, is the Eureka Midori 1. It's a 1-man tent. Perfect, honestly. Before I was using like a biker tent is what it was called, and it's basically like a coffin. You couldn't actually sit up in the tent and be comfortable, but it packed down to a super small size and it was affordable at the time. So I did that for a while until I upgraded to this, and this is just so much better in the long run for just being able to change my clothes in there, move around a bit more. It isn't that much bigger in pack size really, and overall it's a pretty affordable tent, although the company is, I think, officially out of business. That's unfortunate because I actually really like their gear. My main canoe pack, it's also made by them, and it's stood up strong on many trips here now. I have not much wear and tear on it, and it's been weathered. It's seen some things. I'm hard on stuff, as I've said in the past, and it is still holding up to the mess. So unfortunate that they aren't around anymore. So hopefully someone can pick up the slack for them. All right. So another key thing here is our cooking gear. Again, as I said, everything in its own separate dry pack. Although this doesn't really need to be in a dry pack because it's just my cooking stuff. Still, it's just nice to stay organized. I have made a few upgrades, but nothing too crazy. We've got my burner, which pairs with butane canister. Normally I carry the smaller ones with me, but I think from here on out, I will be taking a bigger canister with me. The last couple trips, as I said, were very wet, and I ended up in a situation multiple times where I was concerned I was going to run out of fuel. And as everyone knows, getting a fire going in the rain can be a pain in the arse, yet alone finding wood. And I plan my days to be very busy, so I don't have a lot of time in the afternoon to make a proper fire. Sometimes this is my only option. So to run out of fuel on a trip, not the greatest idea. Manageable, but not great. I also always bring a coffee mug. I had 2 because the trip I was just on this weekend, I was with somebody else. I brought them a cup. But I actually have one that's packable now that's at home, of course. You'll see it on the next camping video, and you've probably seen it in the last. It pushes down and compresses, but honestly, most of the time I have this burner into it to kind of just compact everything and also protect anything on here from getting affected, damaged, or clogged in the butane. What is the word I don't know. The intake on the butane. Oh my gosh, intake on the butane. There's your words. So something I've just upgraded is my pan. I've upgraded to a 10-inch pan. I normally have an 8-inch. A lot of the times I can't fit the fish that I'm trying to cook or a steak or anything. So we're upgrading to a little bit bigger. I was trying to stay condensed in my pack, but sometimes you have to suck it up. Something I do keep pretty small is my plate. I have a very small plate here. I do have a bigger one if I really wanted to take it, but I prefer the smaller one. Fits my pot perfectly, and yeah, stays very packable that way. And of course we have my pot. I keep things inside this usually. I've got a fork and a knife here ready to rock. And then I have a GSI kitchen gear bag. This has tongs, a spatula. It has my oil, salt and pepper. I've got a lighter. I've got a fire starter in here. Little mini cutting board, some cleaning rags, a lot of stuff condensed into one small pack. Super handy for some trips. And I think, as you can tell from all of this, the packability is the main concern, obviously, on this trip. I've got that big orange pack here that I'm working with. And although you can fit a lot in here, like a small apartment could go in here if you want it, you don't really want your pack completely full because it's going on your back. And I don't know about you, but a sore back at the end of the day isn't my favorite option. Another one of my favorite kitchen gear items is this fillet knife. It is a flip out fillet knife from Catch and Cook. They make fish batter, which I also enjoy. But this knife, I honestly bought their stuff just due to this knife because it is so cool, the fact that it folds up. I'm sure somebody else makes one, but that's where I got mine. Another handy thing to have that I had in the bottom of my pack here is these long spoons. And if you've been on a few trips and you have some of the dehydrated meals, you know they come in a deep bag, so you can put some water in, rehydrate it, mix it around. But to get to the bottom of a bag, you're either getting some sticky fingers, or if you have this long spoon, you can get down in the crevices and get your meal without making such a mess. So kind of important if you're eating a lot of dehydrated meals. Sorry, I know these angles are kind of all over the place right now. I've got you guys under the truck cover, just trying to keep my camera dry. Of course, it's raining on this day and it's supposed to rain the next couple of days. So I've just gotta get this video out and done for you guys. So something I have on every trip is a fishing rod. This isn't a rod I would bring with me per se, but it is a rod that I had in my truck right now. I usually bring 2 rods just for different purposes, one for casting, one for trolling kind of thing. And I always liked, well, not always, but I usually like to have 2 lures set up just for different techniques of fishing. I'm sorry for the water on the lens right now. But yeah, different techniques. I don't like retying all the time. So having 2 set up, brook trout, I like to have a spinner and a spoon tied up. And you control the spoon as you're moving along, of course. And then, of course, I'll have a little tackle box with me. So usually I'll either set up a tackle box for this type of species that I'm trying to chase on the trip. So the last trip I did to Algonquin, well, actually 2 trips, were brook trout, lake trout. That was my goal. So I mainly had things for brook trout, and then I had a couple bigger spoons to troll for lake trout in case I had an opportunity. All right, well, this is not the most opportune time to film a video. This is the most opportune time to show you something else I always keep in my pack, which is a very nice and light rain jacket. Before I had one that packed up in a bag. Although it worked very well, wasn't very breathable. Last year I upgraded to this Helly Hansen. I got it at Mark's. It was on sale. probably about 60 bucks or something. But very lightweight, honestly, one of the more comfortable jackets I've ever owned. And also the red kind of looks good on camera, but yeah, perfect for a nice rainy moment like this that we're having right now. And yeah, it's always nice to have something that's very packable, very light, and it also is going to dry fast. It is unfortunate, but when you are out canoe camping, elements are part of the game, and it's something you have to suck up. If you're someone who's a fair weather camper, fisherman, you're gonna miss a lot of opportunities. The last time on my last trip, it was pouring rain and I was fishing and I ended up seeing a bull moose, which I wouldn't have caught, one, if I wasn't just hanging out fishing in this little eddy, and two, if I was trying to hide it out at my campsite in the rain. There was so much wildlife that day. Honestly, the forest was alive while the rain was coming down. So yeah, it is part of the outdoor experience and you can't avoid it. You just have to embrace it. All right, something I'm keeping in my pack. This stays in the bottom. I might change this out for something else, but it's just a small axe. I added it last time and it did come in handy. And then what I've been using, I think since the beginning of my trips, is this small Agawa, what is it called? The Boreal 15-inch saw. Amazing saw, cuts super well. You can even cut big things, even though it is a very small blade. Honestly, looking back, I probably would have got the bigger one just because it'd be more versatile. But for packability, of course, this one, it's pretty dang amazing. Once you have some of your stuff packed away in your pack, this basically slides right down in between everything. I try to do that to protect anything from getting affected by these metal edges. And then, yeah, super accessible. Move everything out of the way, grab your saw and go. Another great thing for rainy days, camping in the rain, is a tarp. This one is a very packable woods tarp. Also, it was very affordable. I do have a bigger one, and a lot of times I will bring that because I can set it up over a campsite, keep all of my gear dry, and not have to hide everything away. This one is also just handy to get set up in a bind. But I do usually bring the bigger one if I know there's going to be a lot of rain and I'm gonna want to keep my area dry. It also is nice to have your tent kind of covered so that it's dry when you put it back in your pack, or as dry as it can be. Once everything gets wet in your pack, that's why I always have things in dry bags, because it can get pretty greasy in there. It can start to smell after a couple days, of course, with all of your dirty clothes and everything else that comes along with canoe camping. My face is so dark there. And with any tarp, you need paracord, lots of paracord. I have a bunch of cut lengths of paracord in here. I just take them down at the end of the day, pack them back into this bag, and I always bring the bag with me. Nothing too fancy about it, can stuff it just about anywhere, but paracord is super handy, and honestly, it's always good to have on hand, even an extra roll of it, because you never know what you're going to need it for. You could end up in a bind, have to tie something up at any given moment. This camera is just getting effed up. We're getting down to it. Now, what you need on every trip is food. Food is crucial. You must take care of it. You should be putting it hanging up by a tree. Again, paracord would come in handy for that. But to keep you safe and make sure you have food for your entirety of your trip, you don't want animals getting into it. What I was saying earlier is these dehydrated meals in the bag, that spoon comes in handy for that. These things can be kind of expensive. And what I learned on my last trip was a sidekick. I added them together, so it was just basically cheap noodles. Add it to this, the flavor was still there, and I got a huge quantity of food with just adding extra noodles to one of those recipes. I won't go through the entirety, but I'll get a quick idea of what I have. This is some of that catch and cook fish batter, very good, multiple flavors, even gluten-free options for people like me. Something I carry on any of my trips, and honestly it's coming to my day-to-day life, is trail mix. Bag of trail mix, I'll portion it up myself. It comes from one of these big bags right here. And then granola bars. So typically I'm bringing a Larabar and a Cliff Bar for every single day. So 1 bar of each and one of these, and that gets me through my day, and I will have it packed away in a accessible portion of my pack, which I'll show to you when I go and condense this all back together. Portion it out for every single day so I know what I'm eating. I bring extra one of my meals every time as well. This one is a Yak Express shepherd's pie. I've had it for a year, need to eat it up. But I always bring an extra one just in case I get in a bind, stuck out there for an extra day. It's always good to have a little bit extra food. Jack Links, I usually get one of the big bags of it. Something to snack on throughout the days. Just good to have snacks, lots of snacks. Kind of skip out on having lunch and just focus on having snacks throughout the day. Keep me eating between portages and new lakes I'm paddling. And then coffee. I just take these Nescafe instant pouches, coffee or cream and sugar mixed in already. No BS, just hot water, and we're good to go. This I don't bring on trips because I wouldn't bring a can. Too heavy. Garbage is a no-no. But good for fishing trips. Nice, classic chili. That's what I was doing the last time I was out. And I didn't catch a fish. Because that's fishing. I apologize that this filming has become so chaotic. I'm trying to keep this camera dry and I don't know, this video seems so weird to me. But people have been interested in the pack, so I thought it was just easier to make a full video, show you what I'm working with. I do have some additional things that probably aren't here right now, but this is the main tools that I keep with me, gear that I need to get me out there for multiple days on end and be comfortable, safe, and yeah, speaking of safety, lead into our next group of items. We have bear spray. I've had this since the first trip. Hopefully we'll never have to use it, but I still have it. Probably do need to update it. It is absolutely beaten and bruised, but it's better than not having it, though I've been fortunate to not have any encounters. I did come across a barrel last year that was absolutely destroyed by a bear, so it can happen to somebody. It did. This I've never brought on a trip, and I've had it at my house, and I probably should start bringing it, but this is a GPS. I think an inReach is probably in my future, although I have heard that with the update now on iPhones that you can use a satellite on the SOS mode and send out text. So that is an option, but yeah, I've been in some sticky situations before, and an inReach honestly doesn't sound like that bad of an idea. And although, well, it's probably the thing that keeps me the safest on a trip, it's my map. I keep a map in this nice dry bag that I found. It is made by Sea to Summit. They make some great gear. And yeah, awesome little option. Fold up your map on wherever you're at that day. Work your way through your lakes. Always good to study your map multiple times before you go on a trip and then throughout the day to make sure you are locked in and know what you're looking for. Yeah, one of my favorite things, honestly, about canoe camping, I think, is just looking at the map. There's something about looking along a map, traveling along your path, trying to make sure you find yourself the right way and, you know, looking for the hidden treasures that may be shown to you on the map. Maps by Jeff makes some very good maps. I have a lot of those now, and he has a lot of little sneaky details in them that are very handy. This stupid thing, it's like, doesn't really feel like it's raining, and then I look at my lens and it's just gross and I'm smeary. We're good? Okay, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. I always bring a toque. This is part of my clothing gear. I didn't really bring clothing gear here with me today. This bag here is a netted bag. I usually put my dirty clothes and wet clothes in the bottom of my pack. Just, I find it does stink up my pack a little bit, but it doesn't get as bad when it's all just sealed into a stinky dry bag and holding that greasy stuff in. Yeah, this is also, I use this as a liner in the back of my pack, but it's one of these flip out chairs. I usually use my camera case. It helps me sit up off the ground sometimes. I'll put this on a log. It just is a little bit more comfortable. but it also really adds some support in that back part of this pack. There is packs that have them built in. This one does not, but this honestly helps out just enough to make sure my backside is comfortable enough when you're carrying around all that crap. We are missing a couple of things here. Toilet paper, absolute necessity in everybody's life. You can't avoid it. You'd love to, you can't. Life is much better with it than without. So yes, toilet paper. Sea to Summit bag. It came with a group of 3 small bags. This one happens to fit toilet paper perfectly. Don't know if that was their intention, but I appreciate it. And the funnest bag of them all. This one is it's the kitchen drawer, the one that everyone puts their junk in, the junk drawer. Not really junk, but my toothbrush, my deodorant, all the goodies you need out in the bush, any day life. I also got some hand soap, some stuff to keep you clean, even though you are pretty greasy while you're out there. You can dive in the lake all you want, you're still never gonna be, that clean. This is my mini well water filter. I'll show a clip of it here. It works very well, had it since day one, haven't had any issues. The little filter, change it out. There's a little screen one, and honestly, every time I've done that, it's turned back to working great. So, changed out once a trip, and I've been okay, never had any issues health-wise. This is just a dry towel. I have another one here by Woods. Having these is just great. These towels themselves, they dry super fast. This one was pretty cheap. This is a Sea to Summit one. It's a big towel, but for the size of it, you wouldn't know it, but that's if I ever go swimming or anything. I have this one with me. And 2 more necessities. First aid kit, just used it for the first time on my last 1-day trip. I ended up cutting into, where the heck is that? My finger, which is sort of healing. It's almost healed now, but it cut my finger open pretty good. And then I've got a bug net. This is gonna be crucial likely in my next trip. Thankfully the rain right now is knocking off the bugs, but it is officially bug season. I was out on the water yesterday getting swarmed by mosquitoes and mayflies, so looking forward to a nice May trip with lots of bugs. I'm sure everyone is. Yeah, whatever miscellaneous crap ends up in the junk drawer bag. Usually also have like my regular knife. I usually keep a couple knives on me. This one I keep on my person, which is a multi-tool. It is a Leatherman. It has pliers. That's what I use fishing wise. Of course, it's got other random things on it. And then I tried to avoid using this knife just to keep it sharp as it can be. But it is always handy to have a knife on hand. And then I usually have a bigger one in the junk drawer for when I'm camping about. Oh, okay. Another one. This is a packable, it's not proper down jacket. But it is a nice jacket. It is very lightweight, obviously packable, and it has kept me warm on many, many occasions. I always keep this in the pack, especially on a rain day, because at the end of the day, you want to warm up. You want a nice dry jacket to put on. So this is crucial. Whether it's middle of summer, fall, it's nice to have something that is going to warm you up in case you get wet or whatever you may need it for. Possibly to even fall asleep when it gets so cold. I think that is the majority of the gear. So yeah, other than that, I would have basically a pack of clothes. I try to have some nice lightweight clothes that roll up nice and tight. I have a few different items. You usually see them in any of my camping videos. Definitely not wearing these thicker Carhartt pants. Got some new kicks for the season. Thanks to Farron Footwear. They've been the sponsor of the channel for the entirety of the channel. I've never really shouted them out, and it's my stepmother, and she's always hooked me up with footwear that gets me through work, everything. These are Keens. I also wear Keens every day at work. Love them. These are some of actually the most comfortable ones I've ever had. Don't know the name of them. I'll put the name of them on the bottom or something if I can remember. But yeah, super comfortable. excited to put them to use. Last year, I ended up catching my other hiking boots on fire trying to dry them out. So be careful of that. I think that's the majority of it. Obviously, a canoe helps me get along the battle. If you haven't seen my canoe, it's an Esquif Adirondack. I just did a little review on it in the last little camping trip I went on. So look back, check that out. But now I'm going to pack everything away, show you kind of how I do it, what I kind of look to put in first, and put it all together. I'll start with my barrel. So typically in my barrel, I am putting in my clothes likely, or my food. For this moment, we will do my food. The big camera lens will go in there. I can actually fit it in there with the camera hooked up to it if that's what I'm working with that day, in case it starts to rain and I don't want to tear down the camera. The big one that I like about this is that you can get attachments for these canoe packs. And this one, I will keep my day stuff in. Like I was talking about with my snacks, I'll keep the snacks in there. I usually keep the bear mace on deck in there. Not that I really run into them, but if you ever were to. So yeah, snacks, toilet paper, things I might need in a jiffy. That battery pack I have, I'll usually keep in that slot as well. Yeah. And then whatever, some extra clothes and stuff. I'm not filling it at the moment, but I know every time I go it's filled. So I'm missing something, of course. But yes. So yes, for the main pack, as I said, I put this as my like back liner. It helps give some structure to the pack for my back and just to put things into. And then I start with the main items, the things I'm not gonna need till the end of the day, but also the bulkiest of items. It's just easier to put that all together at the bottom of the pack, build the pack up. Cooking gear, I try to avoid putting that directly on my back because it's probably the least comfortable thing in your pack. And again, I wouldn't be carrying 2 of these. This would probably be my big tarp instead that I would be squeezing in here. And then, as I said earlier, I'll slide this in between all of those bags, and it just protects it from hitting any part of the pack, causing damage to this pack, because of course I want to keep everything dry, so any damage to the pack would kind of contradict that. And then from here, this is pretty much yard sale time. This is where you want to pick things due to importance. So for the most part, anything important that I want access to will go in that barrel, since it's just so much easier to open. One clamp, it's done. This has like 4 straps on it. So by the time I put everything in here for the day, it's for the day. It's not just until I get to the next stop. It's till I get to my destination at the end of the day. Yeah, so anyways, I hope you guys got something out of this video. It's kind of very just thrown together. It's hard to kind of put all these, there's so much gear to go through. It's hard to go into detail of everything. So I hope I helped anyone that's trying to figure out their camping gear, figure out what they need, or doing some small upgrades along the way. If I could say anything, I think that would be my biggest suggestion, is just get what you can afford, get what you need. What are the biggest, most important things to you? And start with those items. Start upgrading that way as well. You don't need to buy the best of the best gear. There's cheap options out there. Walmart has gear. Canadian Tire has good gear. Honestly, there's Amazon gear. That tent, that's the hammock tent, that's where I got that. It's a nightcat tent. Very affordable and very functional. So functionality, what you can afford, and work from there. That's why I started off with pretty much any item I had was $50 or less. And I've slowly upgraded my pack to get myself more comfortable and more functional throughout my trips. But honestly, with the stuff that you've seen, I could use majority of that for the next 20 years. Unless I had to upgrade it and fix it. But other than that, this gear is all I need. It's really not too fancy. It is hard to get started, so if you are getting started, I understand the struggle. Getting started in any sport or adventure style hobby, it's tough. Things are expensive. Fishing's expensive. Camping is expensive. Driving your dang truck to the grocery store is expensive. The grocery store is expensive. It's all expensive. So I get it. Times are tough. It's hard to get started, but that's the main thing. That's all you have to do is get started. So everyone, I hope you have a great year of adventures. I'm getting ready for the first trip of the year, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, until next time, guys, keep going one day at a time. I've got to get this gear away and out of the rain. So thanks for watching. See you on the next one.